In an award-winning career spanning 25 years, Jonathan Bradley has helped dozens of B2B and B2C brands use creativity to achieve measurable better returns on their marketing investment. A copywriter by training, he believes that in today's world, perpetually divided attention, simplicity and clarity deliver huge competitive advantage. Jonathan talks about how to engage hard-to-reach audiences, cases Starburst and Dell. Please welcome Jonathan, creative partner for Luxid Group UK. The stage is yours.
Hello, everybody. Yes, I'm Jonathan Bradley. I lead a team of copywriters, designers, virtual reality specialists, motion graphics people, all sorts of talented people in London and in Finland. Today, I'm going to talk about reaching hard-to-reach audiences, and particularly B2B audiences. I'll look at how you can dramatically increase your chances of getting noticed. I'll talk about creative excellence, which is the way we describe what we do, our kind of secret sauce that enables us to create work that connects better and retains prospects' attention better. And then I'll show you some examples of it in action. So quite a packed program, which has just reminded me. Set my timer. Right. Okay, so the first thing to say is that we all suffer from not having enough time, having too many distractions. If you think about watching TV, you're probably double screening or triple screening. You have numerous emails, you have information coming at you from every area, and there just isn't time to focus on the things like we used to be able to. I remember, I know you can't tell, but I'm quite old, and I used to be able to focus on things and read novels and do stuff like that. Yeah, doesn't happen so much now. Maybe on holiday, which I'll come to in a bit. So, just to put the problem into some kind of perspective, and these are proxies, so I'm not a statistician, and these are probably really bad figures to use, but Google ad revenue in 2001 was $0.07 billion. 2022, it was just around $270 billion, so a massive increase in spending on interrupting our attention when we're on the internet, where we spend a lot of time. Content marketing, which is particularly relevant to the kind of advertising we do a lot of the time. By 2027, it's predicted that there'll be almost a marketplace worth almost $600 billion. So again, a huge amount of money being invested in attracting our attention and getting people to engage with complex arguments. And then, this is a really hard one to estimate, but the number of commercial messages people are exposed to, they reckon that at the turn of the century, people saw around 1,500 to 2,000 advertising messages a day. Today, it's 6,000 to 10,000. So, yeah. It's even more complex in B2B. We heard from a company that it can take 5 years for a car designer to specify the steel to go from that process to a sale. But typically, B2B sales cycles are between 3 to 18 months, multiple decision makers. There's an interesting study by Gartner which found that nearly 80% of B2B buyers find the process difficult or complex. So it's not actually all that easy to spend your money, even when you know what you want to spend your money on. And then, this is just a really interesting statistic, I think, from McKinsey. They're saying that in this year alone, there will be the global GDP of AI will be $13 trillion. So that's $13 trillion worth of change and things being shaken up and shit being completely different from the way it was. So if you're trying to make a decision that takes up to 5 years, how do you make it? How can you have certainty in what you're doing? So it's really difficult to win people's confidence and keep their confidence over the period of time that you need to complete your sale. So as digital marketers, it's very much a case of Eldridge Cleaver, strange man, by the way, very strange man. One of his inventions was a pair of trousers that included a built-in codpiece. But he was a 60s radical, and this is a fantastic quote of his: you either have to be part of the solution or you're going to be part of the problem. And most advertising now, as always, is part of the problem. So, how can we be part of the solution? How can we get prospects to engage with us? I'm going to do a little bit of cod science now. I'm a copywriter, so I steal things from all over. So, have you ever noticed how once you've bought a car, suddenly that car is all over the roads? You suddenly notice it. And it's not that you've distorted reality with your purchase. It's because you have become aware of something that you weren't before. So your subjective reality has changed. Objective reality is the same. There's still the same number of BMWs on the street. You're just noticing them because you're the proud owner of a nice, shiny new BMW. And that's governed by something called the reticular activating system, which is basically a really primal part of the brain which tells us when we need to be aware of something, whether it's significant to us because it's a threat or a reward, or because it evokes some emotional feeling in us. So creativity, I think advertising and great art as well, is all about activating people's reticulars. It's about showing them something that breaks through the normal beta state that people's brains are in and puts them into the alpha state, the aware state. But more importantly than that, once you've got people into the alpha state, once you've got them aware, you need to keep them there. You need to demonstrate relevance. We've all seen shock ad tactics with lurid headlines, and you look at them and think, oh no, that's a con. They've got me. But your attention goes elsewhere. So you need to try and create ideas that will activate prospects' reticular and then keep them engaged with relevance. This is a fantastic quote from one of my advertising heroes. He was called the Socrates of San Francisco, Howard Luck-Gossage. Brilliant ad man, really brilliant, very, very, very different from anybody of that era. The real fact of the matter is not that nobody reads ads. People read what interests them, and sometimes it's an ad. So what interests B2B buyers at the moment? This is some great research from Wunderman Thompson that came out a few weeks ago. So 66% of buyers are more likely to buy from a supplier who inspires them. 69% of buyers are likely to buy from a seller who has a higher purpose. 67% of B2B buyers are likely to buy, or more likely to buy, and want to do business in the metaverse with using an avatar, and that's something I'll return to in a minute as well. And they concluded that inspiring brands outperform their peers on two key metrics. They grow market share faster and they can charge higher prices. So that's a little bit of insight on what interests B2B buyers. So creative excellence. When I talk about creative excellence, I'm not talking about the creativity of a Picasso or a Sibelius. What I'm talking about is marketing that attracts prospects' attention with creativity and keeps it with insight-led relevance. So it's a term of art we're using to describe our creative process. And how can we do what Howard Luck-Gossage is telling us to do to be interesting? Well, the first thing to do is to set your stories in your prospects' worlds. So that the one thing that is going to attract your prospect's attention is something that is personally relevant to them, that activates their reticular, that is talking about something they're already attuned to. And that's why the vast majority of advertising fails, because it's talking about you, not about them. Get into your prospect's world. We've used for a long time a slogan, "We simplify digital." And that's because we believe that complexity is noise and simplicity is signal. So part of the creative process, we believe, is to tease out that signal and just isolate it from the complexity. And then you can bring the complexity in later on when you're explaining your story in full form. Go the distance. BBN have developed this idea of big, long ideas. They're often very, very simple visual ideas or slogans that can sustain long-term campaign activity, often over many, many years. Make the medium your message. So if your buyers want to buy from you in the metaverse, be in the metaverse. Listen to what people are telling you. And finally, we've talked quite a bit about AI and automation. And I overheard a conversation the other day saying, well, the copywriters should be most worried about ChatGPT. I don't think it's true, because the way that ChatGPT works is it strings together one word after another. It just stochastically looks for the next word that follows the word before. What's the probability of it? Don't do exactly the most probable one, do the next most probable word. So what you're creating is just an average of responses on that topic. And average isn't interesting. Average doesn't stand out. So I would say it, but I believe that copywriters have a long and prosperous future in developing ideas and testing the ideas out against AI to make sure they're not saying stuff that's too boring. So, advertising craft skills. These can all help you be interesting. Insight's critical. It's the thing that any good creative will ask you for at the very start of a brief. What matters most to your prospects, what keeps them awake at night, and what do your sales guys say? What's the best stories your sales guys have? What's the thing that turns on light bulbs in clients' heads? Because that's absolute gold. Strategy, how can you increase your relevance on the issues that matter to your customers? How can you be different from your competition? How can you turn heightened salience into a conversation that results in sales leads? And then channels. How can you do things unusually? What's the most compelling place to put your message? How can you do things that will stand out and attract attention? And finally, technology. We're living in an age of technological change, and so it's incumbent on us to use that technological change to our clients' advantage as creatives. And an example of that is we invested quite heavily in virtual reality about a year and a half ago, and it's just proved to be so useful to us and so useful to our clients. So, let's have a look at some of this in action. So, I'll talk a little bit about what Dell are trying to achieve. Dell Technologies, very strong in IT, very strong in virtualization, very strong in edge computing. Now, 5G is a transformative technology, and telecoms own the spectrum, own the licenses to deploy it, but they don't have the virtualization and edge computing capabilities necessarily. So they need somebody to help them, somebody to mediate between them and potential commercial customers. So Dell has set up the Open Telecom Ecosystem Lab, OTEL, to help make this happen. And it's all about bringing partners together in a physical laboratory, which is being built in Round Rock, but also to bring them together in a multi-user virtual environment that I want to call a metaverse, but I've been told very strictly that I mustn't call a metaverse because it's not open. So we created this in Unreal Engine. It doesn't use pre-recorded video, pre-rendered video. It's accessible app-free, so you can access it from pretty well any device, and it's been really successful. I'll go through some results a bit later because we're pressed for time. Here it is. And the great thing about this space is that it's not an ad, but it's a place where business is happening, and it's helping people do business in a different and more engaging way. It's bringing people together across the world. The results on that, I did have one statistic. They recently held an event at Mobile World Congress, which is the premier telecom event in the world, and the attendance, the response to that was 218 higher than predicted. So it's something that people are really interested in, people really want to be part of. We've also created a series of content campaigns for this 5G positioning, looking at different industry verticals. So we've looked at topics like how telecoms will fuel the fourth industrial revolution, why 5G is essential to green power generation, how 5G is critical to customer experience transformation, and how 5G can help digital twin medicine come to life. So these campaigns are quite broad, social media, e-guides, videos and infographics, but we always try to start with a perspective on the industry that links telecoms to the industry, so that people in both sectors are kind of thinking, oh right, I get that, I can see why this is a great opportunity for us. So this is a video that we created on manufacturing.
In the 1840s, telegraphy transforms business communications. Suddenly, manufacturers can trade with far-off customers and suppliers in hours, not days. By the 1860s, a telegraph cable crosses the Atlantic. Instead of orders taking 10 days to travel by packet steamer, Birmingham, Alabama merchants can wire Birmingham, England factories in minutes. 10 years later, Alexander Graham Bell makes the world's first phone call. With each advance, telecoms bring manufacturers closer to suppliers and markets, cutting costs and increasing efficiency. Then, in the 1950s, a new kind of communication changes everything. At GM, the world's first programmable industrial robot doubles productivity. Computer-aided manufacturing is a new engine of growth, setting unprecedented standards for speed, precision, and repeatability. Automating hazardous manual labor also dramatically improves safety. In the last 30 years, only 27 US workplace fatalities were robot-related. As machines on the factory floor carry out ever more complex instructions, telecoms lose their pivotal role in manufacturing innovation. But today, everything is changing again. In remarkable factories around the globe, AI and machine learning monitor processes in real time, optimizing resource use, preemptively correcting failures, and transforming productivity. Soon, every manufacturing enterprise will want these remarkable capabilities. To achieve this, they'll need to collect data from thousands of sensors and analyze it in milliseconds. With 5G, communication service providers have the way to offer this. 5G's enormous capacity and low latency make it possible to gather all this data and process it in real time at the edge, giving them the opportunity to become key enablers of the remarkable factory, and once again putting communication service providers at the heart of manufacturing progress. Discover more about telecom's central role in the next phase of manufacturing evolution at delltechnologies.com/telecom.
Okay, and then we promoted them with these very simple and kind of unusual, unexpected images that kind of just draw people into the topic and ask quite interesting questions. Is data the best medicine, with the pills representing binary code and that sort of thing? So it's been a very successful campaign. The most significant of them is that we engaged 22% of the prospect universe, which is, in sort of direct response advertising, pretty extraordinary. Finally, and I'm running quite late, so I'll rush through this, Starburst. Starburst is an analytics anywhere innovator that gives businesses a faster, more cost-effective way to uncover data insights. They use data mesh. Data mesh is one of the areas they have expertise in. but they're losing share of voice on this. So to counter this, we created an account-based marketing initiative based around the Data Mesh Book Club. And the insight here was that this is a complex topic. People don't necessarily have time to get grips with it in their day-to-day work, but it's the sort of thing that if you're into this kind of data world, you might want to read up on holiday. So we promoted a free copy of the leading book on the topic that people could read on holiday. And we created Astro, our little Starburst spaceman, to be the kind of exemplar of this campaign and give us a big, long idea that carried us through the campaign. So here you can see with him with his library of data mesh books, reading the book, just building a sandcastle, because that's what you can do when you're on the moon. Here's a little video.
Data Mesh Book Club Season 2 is here. New webinars, new books, new insights. Join our experts for a new 5-part webinar series with special guests. Learn how to implement, scale, and sustain data mesh in your business. Register today and join our growing community.
So just trying to bring some charm and unexpectedness to what could be presented as quite a dry topic. And yeah, fantastic results on this. Again, most significant one here is I've written 15-to-1 ROI in new business opportunities. Is actually more like 28-to-1 in new business opportunities. So it's not ROI earned, but potential ROI. And phase 2 is live now. I'll skip past these next 2 slides because I'm pretty short. And just to sort of summarize that as a creative team, we cover strategy, craft, film, and immersive experiences as well. So we're a small team, relatively small team. We have very broad capabilities because we need to be able to create work like this. These are some of our lovely clients. Any questions?
You can keep it. Well, I can take it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jonathan. What a sparkling talk.
Thank you.
So, questions, anyone? Can you speak to the mic so all the webinar listeners hear it? Is it? It is.
Is it on?
Yes,
Okay.
it's on.
Yeah. So you said you have a copywriter
Yes.
background. So nowadays everybody says that all the content, let's say videos, articles, every written content you produce, it should be shorter and shorter because people are willing to spend less time with the content.
Yes.
But that also, of course, creates problems from the marketeer's point of view because you have
Absolutely.
a lot to say and you want to really engage the person.
Yes.
So what is your opinion between the really short content versus, let's say, full-time few-minute videos? Like, how do we balance between
Yeah, it's a
this
really good
challenge?
question. And the simple answer is there's room for both. It goes back to the marketing funnel that we all talk about so enthusiastically. At the top of the funnel, when you're trying to attract people's attention, you need to be really simple, really focused, really short and pithy. But once you've attracted that attention, people want to know more. Certainly in many of the topics we deal with, people want to have more substantive arguments. They want to have more information. They're comparing you with other people. So you need to present the information in an accessible form, but it doesn't need to be short form.
More questions? There is one.
Is this on? Yes. Okay, I have a question regarding these like trending topics like sustainability and whatnot.
Yes.
Facing these issues with a few of my clients at the moment. How do you make that interesting now that everyone's talking about it? Should we be talking about it? And how do we differentiate when this is a topic that is on everyone's
I think that's a really interesting question. I mean, obviously there are sustainability criteria that are pretty well hygiene factors now. So every business should say it's working towards its net zero targets, and those aren't interesting in themselves. There's a wonderful campaign by Dole, which is all about how they used byproducts from banana production, which is actually quite polluting because they degrade and cause methane, to create pleather. So you're creating an artificial leather from a byproduct that would otherwise degrade, and that's also reducing consumption of leather, which again is another polluting industry. So what am I trying to say here? Basically, look for good stories, look for ways that your business can do good, and then develop them. Don't present the fact that you have a net zero target as great news, because you should have, and it's expected. Demonstrate how you're going beyond that and working towards new solutions. That's easy for me to say because I just write things. I only destroy ink and lots of paper.
Any more? All right, then I'll thank Jonathan. Here's
Thank you very much.
You can take home.
Thank you. Thank you so much.